Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make the Among Us character as well as 3 different hats, so let's get started. First, start out with the usual cube, and I'm just going to hide the camera there. Put it on the side view, and I'm just going to move the cube upwards. And then scale it in on the x-axis as well as the y-axis. Okay, now I'm going to add a subdivision surface modifier. I'm going to add a loop cut in the middle and drag it down until it's almost at the bottom. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now go into X-ray mode and we're going to grab the top left vertices and drag it in a bit so it's a bit on a slant. Okay, and I'm just going to make it a bit skinnier again, pressing S and Y. Okay, now I'm going to apply the subdivision surface modifier. Next, we're going to work on the legs, so tab into edit mode, and we're going to move the middle vertex to the left a bit, pressing G and X. And we're going to move the top out a bit as well, move the top right one down, and copy that on the bottom half. Just making sure they're pretty even. You don't need to touch the far right one. Okay, so that'll be where our legs are going, so I'm just going to click faces and select those two. And I'm going to press G and grab them down on the Z axis so it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to rotate the bottom just so it's pretty flat. So you probably don't have to do this next part, but I'm just going to make the bottom of the legs a bit more flat. So I'm just going to move it down so it lies along that x-axis. And do the same thing with the front one. Now I want to mirror that on the left side. So go into X-ray mode and select the left side and delete the vertices. Next, add a mirror modifier. And voila! That's looking pretty good. And I'm going to add another subdivision surface modifier. And increase the viewport to 2. And now we're going to add an extra loop cut on the leg just to make it a bit thicker. And select the midsection and drag it down a bit. I'm increasing the viewport to 3 just to make it a bit more smoother before I click Shade Smooth, and that's almost done. I'm just going to make the legs a bit skinnier on the y-axis, so go onto X-ray mode, go into faces and select the legs, and then press S and Y to make them a bit skinnier. Okay, now we're going to add the eyes or the helmet, whatever it is. So add a cube and then scale it down. Add a subdivision surface modifier. and bring it to the front so we can see what we're working with. I'm going to increase the viewport to 2 and press Ctrl R to create a loop cut in the center on both sides. And scale it down. And moving it up into place. And I'm just going to make it a bit wider. Okay, now we're going into X-ray mode and click vertices, grab the top 2 outer vertices and we're just going to scale it inwards, pressing SX just to make the top half a bit more in. Then on the side make it a bit thinner with S and Y. And now move it back into place on the face. Just rotate it upwards a bit. Just so it sits pretty flat with the body. Alright, that looks pretty good now. Now increase the viewport to 3 just to make it a bit more smoother before clicking Shade Smooth. Alright, now that's the eyes / helmet done. And I'm going to duplicate that with Shift D and move it to the back. Now this is going to be our backpack or oxygen tank, one of those two. And just going to fit it to his back, so rotating it back upwards and lengthening it and making it a bit longer, move it down and fit it into place. Then I'm going to just widen it. Then I'm going to just undo what I did before and just make the top angle straight again, just so it matches the bottom half. And then I'm just going to widen the backpack a bit, or the oxygen tank, pressing SX, and that's it. That's his backpack done, and that completes our whole body as well. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go through and apply all those modifiers that we added. And I'm going to join the body and the backpack together just because we're going to make it the same colour. Now the fun part, all we need to do is colour it any colour you like. So for mine, I'm just going to use a binky kind of colour. And for the eyes or helmet, I'm going to make it a light blue, just so it kind of looks like glass. Right, that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to colour in the solid mode as well. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to, just because why not. So I'm just going to do the same colour as before. Then I'm just going to alter the roughness. So for the body, I'm going to increase the roughness. And then for the glass or helmet, I'm going to decrease the roughness just to give it more of a shiny, glassy look. Okay, so that's done. I'm gonna create my first hat now, which is the Mini-Me hat. So I'm going to just duplicate the body to rename it Mini-Me hat. And then shrink it down to size. Just about that size, it's pretty good. And I'm just going to move the legs up a bit, so go into X-ray mode and select the legs, and then just press G and R to rotate the legs to the front. Just so it kind of looks like it's sitting down. Now you're going to get all those messy lines at the front, but that's okay. We're going to smooth it out, so go into sculpting and press the smoothing brush and just start smoothing the front of the legs out a bit. Just turning the strength down a bit while I do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to do the back of the legs too. Just smoothing out those lines a bit. Okay, great. That looks heaps better. And that's literally it for that hat. So you can move them into place now. And pop them right on top of the head. There you go, that's the first hat done. Looks pretty good. You can even change the colour of that one if you like. That's the first hat done. Just doing a little dance here, not sure why. But why stop there? Let's create another hat. So just drag them over, get them out of the way for the next one. So let's make our next hat, which is the halo. So select a torus. And I'm just going to leave that size as is, that looks fine. And then I'm just going to shrink it down and fit it just above the head. And I'm going to add a subdivision surface modifier just to make it a bit more smooth. And that's really it. Going to apply the subdivision surface modifier and right click shade smooth. Now let's colour. I'm just going to make it a yellowy colour, of course. You can make it a different colour if you want, but halos are generally goldy yellow. And I'm just doing the same thing with the material preview mode. Making them both a yellowy colour, of course optional as well. And that's it. That's our simple halo. And I'm just going to move it back a bit, just because it wasn't quite centre. A bit more just above his head, and that looks good. Second one done. But why stop there? Let's make another one. So our third and final headpiece is going to be the bear ears, so shift and add a cylinder. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, just so it's facing us. And that'll be the first ear, so shrink it down just to an ear size. And then I'm just going to scale it inwards on the y-axis, just to make it a bit thinner. Bit more like an ear. Okay, now go into edit mode, click on faces and click eye. Insert the second circle and press G to grab it outwards or backwards, just so it's like an inside of an ear. And the same thing on the outside, so press I inwards, then grab it back, press I again, and then grab it back. Okay, now I'm just going to move it a bit more into place on the right side and squeeze it in a bit. And then rotate it slightly outwards. Okay. That looks pretty good. Now back into object mode, I'm going to add the headband bit. So I add another torus. And before you click away, make sure you adjust the size at the bottom. I'm just making it more of a acceptable headband size. Just see how it looks. I think that looks okay. Just making it a bit more thin. And then just move it into place and rotate it 90 degrees, moving it down into place. And use X-ray mode just to see where it's placed. And I'm just moving the ear into place here, but I'm fast forwarding this because no one wants to sit through that. Just make sure there's no gap between the headband and the ear. And make sure you right click Shade Smooth while you're at it. Okay, now we're going to copy this ear onto the left side. Make sure you hold it along the x-axis and then rotate it outwards, making sure the origin is in the center. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's a pretty simple There Is headband, but it works and it looks okay. So I'm just going to add a subdivision surface modifier to the headband and click Shade Smooth. And then I'm just going to join them all together. And that's it. So let's colour now. So I'm just making the whole headband a bit of a browny colour. If you want to make the actual headband a different colour, make sure you don't join them together. And then I'm just darkening the orange shade a bit, just to make it a browny colour for the viewport display as well. Alright, and now I'm just going to make the inner ear a different colour, a bit of a lighter shade. So add a new material and I'm making the colour a bit lighter brown. And I'm doing it for the base colour too. Make sure you select the faces on the inner ear, click the material and click Assign. And that's done. Probably be like a dog ears or not really cat ears. It's more bear ears, isn't it? Alright, and that's our 3 hats done. I'm sure you could try and attempt to make more hats if you want to, but these are the 3 I thought of just because they're pretty simple. If you want, you can just make the headband look more like a headband. So I'm just going to delete the bottom half when I can select all the faces properly. There we go. And then just press delete vertices. Okay, and that's it. So I'm just going to create the render now. I'm just going to fast forward through this bit. If you want to know how I did it, just slow down the video. Otherwise, Keelan Jon has a good video on how to create this plane. So go over to his channel if you want to see how. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks guys.